All right, everyone sit on something to give some height to your hips, whether couch cushions or blocks or blankets or bolsters. Just get a little bit of height. Flex, cross your shins, one in front of the other. Flex your feet. Place your hands on your thighs, lift your chest up. Keep the chest lifted, take a nice deep breath. Exhale, relift your chin, let your shoulders drop away from your neck. Place your hands on your thighs again, lift your chest up. On your exhale, bring your back ribs in, side rib forward, front rib up. Drop your shoulders as you exhale, let the eyes close. So as you let the eyes close, you kind of connect to your breath for a few moments here. Start to feel what's going on in your body. And stuff might come up for you. Thoughts of your day, thoughts of the sounds around you, the environment. Feelings. Let them all come forward. Invite them all forward, because this work of yoga, it offers so much, but it does ask that we give a little bit. So we give a little bit of our time. And the thing that it also does is if we give it a little bit more of ourselves, a little bit of our feeling, happy, sad, anger, all that in the practice. I'm not saying we do rage yoga or laughing yoga by any chance, but if these things come up, let them come up, because to me, that's you giving them to the practice so it can give back to you. The yoga mat is always going to hold space for your sadness or your happiness or your anger or your fears or your anxiety. No matter if you have those, you can still get on your mat and do down dog, and yoga is still going to give you a benefit. You can show up however you want to, need to, or however you are. And you're still going to get to you. Or you're still going to give to you and create for you all the benefits of this. You don't have to come into this perfect. You don't have to come to this with the attitude that you think that is the right attitude. Come into it with your attitude. All your humor, all your smart aleckiness, all your sadness, right? Because I did, and I'm still here. It's important to practice this, I think, because it's hard to know how to show up in the world sometimes, or how these feelings are going to affect the world around us. But when we get into the practice like this, we start to begin to understand. We begin to understand the shape of our anger or our sadness and our fear. And like Taylor Swift once said, there's 14 different types of sad. So you can start to, have a measurement and see the granularity and the many layers of you. You see, you have different fear, and you have different sad, and you have different anger, and then eventually you start to articulate it. Yoga offers that, because yoga holds space for you to begin to see it. And once you see it, you know it. It never controls you in the same way again. Just like if you know you have an injury, you know how to work with it to live your life. I'm not saying emotions are injury, but we've hurt ourselves with our own feelings sometimes, and we've hurt others. But when you come into your practice tonight, my friends, whatever comes up for you, let it. So that you give to this, and you get back to it, you get back from it everything you deserve. and everything that you need. Bring the palms together at the chest, let the thumbs touch the sternum. Let the elbows drop down alongside the body, chest still lifted, shoulders down, chin up. We'll shortly 3 times and begin. Take a nice breath in. One more. Bow your head for a moment. Salute the essence inside yourself. The essence of yoga inside yourself. And on an exhale, bring the hands into your lap. Let your head rise and your eyes open. Great. Thank you all so much for being here. It's lovely to see everybody. You're going to stay seated to start the class. So still seated on your bolster block, pillows, couch cushions, whatever you got. And start with both legs wide, Uttanasana Konasana. So you're going to stretch your legs out wide. And remember, in past classes, I've talked about if your teacher is not there in front of you, what can you use around you to help guide you in that instance where you're not sure, right? Because we come into yoga in a certain way and we're looking for certain guidance from it. But if your teacher's not there to say your feet are uneven or your hips are uneven, what do you have around you? So maybe use the edge of your yoga mat, lining your heels up with it, or the back edge of it with your hips. Start to kind of be aware of the space around you and how it might reflect for you some of what's going on in your body. Right? That was one of the pillars of creating good knowledge in the Yoga Sutra. Observation with the senses. So with both legs wide, take your fingertips onto the bolster block floor or even another prop behind you and lift your spine and chest up as high as you can. Go for lift. Point your feet, and as you point the foot, pull the toes back so the arch of the foot is extended, and as the toes are pulled back, that flexes the top half of the foot and part of the calf. Keep that flexed. Stretch the heel away from you to lengthen the leg on the back side now. So the foot doesn't stay pointed, but as you extend through the foot and then stretch the heel, so it's engaging the top half of the foot, the calf, and then when you push the heel away from you, it's not losing that foot part, but you're engaging the top and bottom side of the leg. This itself can take quite a bit of time to learn. You're doing it in standing. When you're doing like one-legged standing poses or the like, this is actually the shape the foot takes. And it's why for some of us that come into yoga with ankle injuries, arch issues, things like that, standing poses, especially one-legged, can be so beneficial to train the arch of the foot, but we still have to carry it into the seated. So here with the chest lifted, pushing the thigh down, pushing through the heel, the front 5 joints of the foot, Uttanasana Konasana. The thing about seated poses is that once you stabilize the legs, then you start the spine manipulation. Forward, backward, rotational. You can't really go upside down, so you only get 3 of the big 4 directions you can move the spine. So as you're lifting your spine up, push your legs down like you're trying to lift the back side of your pelvis up. When you try to let the buttock lift up and the back side of the pelvis lift up, you might feel the abdominal wall flex a little bit. The lowest part of the abdominal wall, just above the groin, has to flex a little bit to do that. That is your abdominal wall helping pick up the lower spine. Because when you start to go forward, it's very easy to either round your back away from you, slouching, right? And your abdomen drops out of it. So it's all in your groin and in your spinal column. Or you sway so hard the other way, it's pushed forward and you lose your legs and it's all again in your groin. Push your thighs down, lift the buttock up. So any forward movement, because we're going to start forward, we're going to explore a few seated poses and rotational movement, because I know everyone's seated a lot. So we're going to use seated poses to actually work on our backs. And even if you just did this for a few minutes, it's really quite challenging. So hold the legs, let the back side of the pelvis lift, not by tilting forward, but actually go straight up. Take both arms straight up into the air. So when you lift the back side of the pelvis, can you lift the shoulder blades and thumbs up to equal action? Are you still working your legs, not just in extension, but depression? So the legs are picking up the back side of the body. And then you hold. And you get into it. And you don't just pay attention to the screaming hamstring, the tight groin, the achy back, all that other stuff. But check in with yourself everywhere else. Check in with your head first. Where's your head and your neck? Is your head coming forward and your spine lifting up? Why fight that? Get up there with your head, right? If we were in class, I would say have some yogic snobbery. Happy yogis don't do this. Try that. There you go, Caitlin. That's a better Pratima. Yeah, ain't no one gonna see you. So have all the snobbery, take some actual pride that you showed up on a Thursday in a shelter in place thing, and you're still doing your work. Interlace your fingers, turn your palms up to the ceiling. Let it show up for you. Let something show up in this that's not just your hamstrings. And it may be a small thing. Maybe a big thing. Maybe just even being here is the thing. So you love that too. But as I've said before, it is hard for me to teach online because I get so much from the students. The students showing up, all that you bring into class energizes me to share, teach, and help you grow, just as a teacher did it for me. So even though your teacher's not there with you, share yourself as if you did. Let it all show up for you so that you become comfortable with holding your own space, holding your own fatigue, your own sadness, happiness, joy, especially the joy part. Because I've had moments during this where I've even been like, oh man, I'm having a good time. Should I be having a good time? Survivor's guilt. By now you should be tired. Good. Now straighten your elbows. There you go, Caitlin. 3 more seconds. Take 3 deep breaths. Take another. Final one. On your last exhale, bring your arms down behind you, lift your spine up. Woo. So that's the extension. So now that we've got the back muscles awake, the legs are active, now we'll take it forward. Keep your legs, point the foot, stretch through the heel, reset your legs, because after a trial like that, it's easy to want to drop out and go to what's comfortable. Maybe give yourself the space to not do that. Don't have to go back to old habits. Build on something new here. Point the foot, then stretch through the heel. Get the legs engaged. There you go. Now, lift the spine. Let the back side of your pelvis come up. Lean forward. Just push your fingertips into the floor to help tilt your upper body forward just a little bit. It's not about swaying the ribs out. Don't let your head round down. Keep your neck in line with the rest of your spine and tilt the bridge of the upper body forward. So even if you only go 5-6 inches forward, great. Take your hands in front of you, but be careful when you take your hands in front of you, don't just slouch and collapse into it. The hands coming in front of you are just nothing but a little bit of a balance. So if you feel like you slouched, re-lift behind you, re-extend, let the back side of the pelvis lift, tilt forward so the strength of your legs, your core, and your back are holding you. Right. Then walk your hands out 5-6 inches. Hold. Check your body. Take a deep breath. Ready for the fun part? Keep this angle of your body, whatever it is, whether you're 10 inches in forward or 12 inches or you're really low. Don't be really low on this one, FYI. There's a reason I haven't told you to go down super far. Feel the alignment of your shoulder to your hip. Stretch your arms straight out in front of you, up and with your ears. Line your biceps up with your ears, but don't let your body sit upright. Keep your body in that forward action. I hate this one, gives me all sorts of cranky. Head up, chest down. Let your legs pick up your pelvis, the back side of it, so your front pelvis rolls towards the floor. If you have to bring your arms down because something's out of whack, you know, that's okay. But if your arms are tired, interlace them behind your head and keep your elbows back so you're still getting some of the work and you can practice that extension. Take a breath. Don't look down, look out. Look to where you're going. Don't look back to where you've already been. Don't sit in the muck or the thing you're already in. Let's move towards the next. So that's forward. Take your hands back to the floor. Don't go back upright. Keep your legs. Walk your hands out a little further, maybe, even if it's like just a ½ an inch. Now walk your hands wide like you're going to touch your toes. So with your arms out wider, already your chest starts to come down more. Lengthen, pick up the back side of your pelvis. Float your hands out wide and hold. Stretch your arms like you're doing warrior two. Palms down, biceps up, and then lift your heart out and fold a little deeper on the strength of your legs, core back. For those of us that are hypermobile, this is incredibly challenging to maintain this. For those of us that are tight in the hip, it feels like you're just going to be able to hold yourself upright or you're going to fall back. Both are valid. Both are where we're working at. You're still going for extension. Take a deep breath. All right. Up you come. Take your hands back behind you, relift, use your legs. So if you have a yoga strap or belt or towel or something like that, grab it. So if you watch Tristan for just a ½ a second here on camera, if you have a strap, which would be great, you know, you make a small loop, tiny little lasso, and it's going to go around your left foot. If you don't, you can just use a towel wrapped around your foot or a belt. That's okay. This is going to be the optimum one, though. It's going to go across your front body and then wrap around to your back, like that. So if you see, Tristan's got the strap across her inner thigh, and it goes around her right hip towards her lower back. Hold it down just a little bit so you can see. Get it off your body. Goes across her and then wraps around. There we go. So everyone get to this position, and then I'll have her do it. This is a modified twist I've come up with. I think it's quite useful for getting your hips to feel the shift and get your back. One of the things I find challenging in straddle, Sadipaldattanasana, seated straddle stretch to get a twist is my hip wants to move, my back wants to tilt. I can't really access my upper body easily. So using the strap gives me a push-pull effect. So if you watch her for a moment, Tristan's going to stay upright, but she's going to take her right hand down that strap as far as she can reach without bending too much. You don't want to get into a forward fold with this. I want your spine more or less upright. So she's going to back up a little. Okay. Her left hand holds the strap just behind her, and she pulls it away from her body, like towards that leg, and pulls tight. Good. And now keep your spine up, Tris. Pull with your right hand to twist to your left. Pick your left arm up higher and pull out harder to help activate your upper back. So you're pulling with your right hand, pulling with your left hand to twist around. There you go. So you see she gets this nice upper thoracic rotation. Her legs are level. Her back popped. Congratulations. I'll send you a bill. She's going to throw a block at me. All right, go. So straps around your back. Do the best you can. Even if you're using a towel, only you can hold on to it in your right hand and just stretch your left arm out and away from your body. Keep going. Say stop. They're just getting started. Don't worry about the mouse. So the more you stretch your back arm out, not down, pick it up. Try to lift it up with your chest and your shoulder and pull it out to the side. Yeah, Karen, that's it. And don't lean. This is not the forward fold. This is just twisting your spine upward. Push through the legs to pick the back side of your pelvis up, and then rotate by bending that right elbow to rotate your torso into the twist. Good. Hold. Breathe. There you go, Pratima. You got it figured out. So if you cannot your strap's not long enough, just use your right hand, but stretch your left arm up into the air and behind you. Use everything you got to extend that upper back, especially that left side. If you have the long strap and you can pull that out against it, that's really great. But then notice how one side of your body wants to come down or one leg wants to give out. Point your feet, stretch through the heels, pick up the back side of your pelvis, and then rotate the spine using the strength of your arms. And then pick your head up and back just a little to get out of this collapsed neck. And then rotate. Remember the 3 bands. If you've studied with me long, you've heard them. The first band is belly button to pelvis. Rotate your first band towards the left. So drag your belly button towards your left hip. Then go up to the middle bands, just below the breast, those bottom floating ribs. Drag your middle band, second band to the left. And then ultimately get to the upper 3rd band in the middle of the breast up. Drag it to the left. Pull your right around to your left, left to back. Take a few breaths. How's that feel? All right, untwist. Switch legs. Keep your legs out long, just switch your strap. Shouldn't be that hard. Round your front. Strap goes across the front of the body and then wraps around to the back. You like this one? This has been fun. You're collapsing here. You gotta really work that. Don't push the leg down, but ground your hip. So once you've got the strap in place, remember, don't lean forward. This isn't about leaning into it and then pulling your spine up. This is about the spine long and then using the strap and the pull of the arm to create that chest rotation. So right arm is behind you, has got the strap. Left hand is down the strap, as you can see Tristan is doing right now. Pick the right arm up and pull out to open up your upper back, and then bend that left elbow and rotate. A little too high with the right arm, Pratima. No higher than your shoulder, dear. Good. And hold. Nice, Christine. Good job. Good, Chaya. How's that feel? You can just nod if it's good. All right, good. That's okay. It doesn't matter. The strap is just there for you to pull against. It's not there for you to push your, but you can push your left hip against it. There you go. That'll help you teach. Keeps that groin. And then move the 3 bands. Twist your navel to the right. Twist your middle ribs to the right. Lift the back side of your pelvis up. Twist your upper ribs to the right. And then check, did one hip come up higher than the other? Try to keep them level as best you can. And that's going to come from your legs working. You know, this gives you a chance to really explore a lot of that. All right, exhale and come on out. Good. So that's rotational forward twisting. So we can go backwards with this. Backwards in this pose is usually just like laying on your back and stretching your legs out wide. So we'll actually hold on to the supine and the backwards for these leg positions until the end. So take your hands, grab the inner knee of each leg, pick up the knee, and bring the soles of the feet together and the knees wide into Baddha Konasana. Hands behind you, lift the spine, hip up. So in past classes, I've talked about doing the work with intent. Start with your toes. Just as we, lift all 10 toes up off the floor, put the big toe, pinky toe, and do all that jazz. Can you push your big toes together and keep them pressed? And then feel the toes below that, your second toe, push those tight together. Don't curl them, just push the pads flat. No different than me taking the tips of my fingers, the pads of my fingers, pushing them tight one by one and doing that with intent. Do it the middle toe, fourth toe, and pinky toe. Push all of them in and then notice one side wants to do harder than the other. Try to work them equally as you lift the spine. Take a nice deep breath, keep the legs active, pushing the feet together, not the knees down, and lift your arms straight up. Chins up, have that, yeah, there you go, Aaron. So don't lean the chest out to compensate for the legs or the core muscle not working. So even though it's going to sound counterintuitive, lean your upper body back just a hair so you feel weight go into your hips, but then work your feet together, flex your buttocks so you get some lift. There you go. So you have your back body, the glute working to lift you up, and the core front body picking you up on its side. You're teaching both parts to lift you. Because when we sit in chairs for a long time, it's very easy not to use either, and we just slouch into it. Or then you flex your back really hard, and you push your spine upright to sit the opposite way, and your neck gets torqued up. Got to use both. So take your hands onto the floor just in front of you. Press the feet together, flex the glutes, lift the backside of the pelvis. Walk your hands forward 5-6 inches. Even if you don't go that far, you're still moving your body into that rotational tilt. Now, when you go forward, do you start to bend from your back, or can you lift the backside of the pelvis up so your front of your pelvis rolls towards your heels? Try to move from your pelvis first and then your spine. So once you've gone forward, you feel the groin stretch, you feel you're working. Feel how much weight you're putting into your hands and how little your core and back have to work to do this. Push your toes together, push your feet together. Look out, pick your arms up in line with your ears again. So now your back and core and legs have to work together. You want to change seated posture. The seated yoga poses really are going to challenge us to recognize the habits that we have when we're giving ourselves to something else, right? Got to have that 5th Zoom meeting. You deep diving Facebook too much or whatever it is. Notice the first thing that wants to happen for some of us, either our arms get tired in our shoulder because we're not using our core muscles, or we start to lift our chest upright more and sit upright more because our back is getting tired. Use your legs more in that case to tilt your pelvis. So your thighs do the work. There you go. Take a breath. Take your hands to the floor. Walk your arms out a little farther, even if it's forward first. Lengthen. Push the fingertips down. See if you can push down through the fingertips and feel that lift and pick your ribs up a little bit. And then take your arms wide. And then go float the arms out like warrior 2. And then stretch your chest out. And then check with your feet. Don't just look at them. You can look at them, right? Look at what you're doing with your toes. Are your big toes pressing together equally? Are your 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and pinkies? Are your heels pushing together equally? Use all your senses to be the teacher that you need right now. If, right? Are you ready to be seen? I think that the people that come to yoga class aren't just asking for healthy hamstrings. They're asking to be seen in a certain way. They're like, I'm ready for someone to look at me and help me. So look at yourself. Check your arms, check your feet. And then look out to where you're going to go. And try to remember that feeling. Use your eyesight, your body feeling to line yourself up and then go forward with it. Right? Because we know that we can't always be in this pose doing this to check ourselves. So we have to build the habit. We have to build that trust with ourselves. We have to hurry up and get out of this pose because Dustin's talking too much. Yeah, there you go. Exhale, up you go. Take your strap or your towel or whatever. You don't need it to be in a loop. Just unlooped is pretty good. Put it around your right knee, just below the kneecap. So not down the shin bone. If it's down the shin bone, it's not going to work so well. Take both parts behind your back. Yeah. So it's just wrapped around the right knees. You see it's not down Tristan's shin. It's up on the kneecap, roughly just a hair below. Strap goes behind her back, and she's holding the strap with her left hand. So right knee, left hand is holding the strap behind her. Before we even start to twist, right, because you know where we're going with this, the format's a pretty simple one, but it's got a lot of complexity. You climb your hand down that rope as far as you can go. Some of you remember I've taught this one a number of times before. It's really quite nice though, especially with seizing too much. Work your feet first, and then notice when you climb your left hand down the strap behind your back as far as you can reach it, does one shoulder collapse? Can you lift both chest? Can you lift your chest up? Don't lean to your right to cheat it and compensate it. Actually lean your ribs to your left, and pick your left ribs up. There you go, now that's straight. You can be confused. You have the teacher in front of you. Good, take your right hand and reach for your left knee if you can. And before you, it takes a little bit of upper body twist, so you already have to start stretching it a little, but don't fully twist yet. Try to pick your ribs back up. Notice how the backside of your pelvis kind of slouch. You slouch into the groin. Okay, good. Push your feet together. Get the big toe, second toe, middle, fourth, and pinky. Lift your heart up. When you twist, don't twist your neck first. Bend your elbows to do all the twisting. Can you let your back muscles only do one thing? Lift. They will twist by the arms moving them. Exhale, bend the elbows. Bend the left elbow like you're pulling the strap behind you further. Bend the right elbow so it's pointing the same directions your toes are. So if you're looking at Tristan, she's going to bend her elbow like she's going to push it into my hand. So the elbows go out away from us. There you go, Karen. Good. Nice try. Now notice, did your right hip come up? So that means you leaned into your left hip. Keep your weight in your right hip. So that was only one half of your spine getting the full rotation. So keep the balance, confront tight back. Take a breath. Work your arms more and your shoulder less. Work your bicep more and your neck less. Work your toes more. Nothing less on that one, just do that more. And get that rotation. And then turn your head to the right. And can you move your right inner ear away from the right shoulder? Yeah, like that. So it's like you're trying to take your right inner ear towards your left shoulder that's behind you. Ooh, nice deep neck opener. And then take some deep breaths into this. Twisting is one of those that if you push too hard, you lose the best part of it, which is how the deeper you breathe, the more it massages the lungs, ribs, and back, and really opens it up. It can really make some wonderful changes to the neck, even up into your jaw, the ears, if you just take those deeper breaths. So whatever you're pushing so hard into that you're the only thing holding you together is afraid I'm going to call you out, or you think you have to beat yourself up to get at what you want out of this. Don't. Focus more on how much you can breathe in it first. Bend your elbows to do the work of the back. Exhale, out you go. Switch your legs. Everyone okay? You good, Aaron? You good, Ryan? All right, good. Don't forget, there'll be like a 5-minute question and answer. So if if you're starting to think questions, hold on to them. And then you might just find that you answer them yourselves, and then you're the teacher, right? You got the answer to give to somebody because you've made it out of your own, and then you own the pose. I'll get into that little tirade in a minute. Right hand reaches around behind you, left arm reaches across. Lift the ribs. Don't try to twist fully. Make your arms do the greater work of it. Bend the right elbow deeper, trying to pull the right arm to the right, behind you more. Bend your left elbow to draw yourself in the twist. And then check your hips. Did you lean into your right hip more than your left? Try to put your weight in both. Lift your spine up. Exhale, rotate the torso around. And then look to your left. And then try to move your inner left ear away from your shoulders. If I were to stand behind your head, grab the back of your ear and pull it back. Yeah, that's away from your shoulder. No, I didn't say up. If that's your shoulder, move it away, it's back. Not up. Can't move it up. Good question. And so, I said briefly, once you get the answer, maybe you answer the question yourself and then you really own the pose. I never understood what my teacher would say about owning the pose when I heard it until I started to practice it to the degree the questions I had. I didn't take the time to ask my teacher, but I kept doing it until I figured it out on my own. And then it really started to click that how the practice is my own exploration, and then everything I get out of it is something I get the chance to share. Some of you heard me say, I'm not interested in making copies of myself. I'm interested in healthy, happy yogis that are empowered. So, if you have questions that come up during this, if you still have them at the end, by all means ask. But if you have them come up for you, be aware of what you're going through in the pose, and you might be surprised at how the answers come to you. And then you get to go to your teacher and have a nice conversation. It's just not like, oh, please give this to me. It's like, I found this. What have you had with this? It creates a much different experience. So still bend the elbows. Don't start to get into your shoulder neck. Why don't you just bend that left elbow, girl? Yeah. Pull on that strap. Take a deep breath. And get back into the breathing. And whatever's coming up for you, right? Mr. Angro would say, every time you twist, you're wringing out everything, all the emotions, all of the junk of the day. So you got to let it out. You let it out. Because that's all you coming forward, giving something to yoga so it can give you something back. So you can learn the shape of your happiness, your sadness, your fear, your anger, your love, your all of it. So you learn you, the shape of you. There's a song like that. Probably shape of you. All right, out you go. Stretch your legs straight out in front of you. So Dandasana, take your strap. Strap your feet together. So I would like you to place the strap around the arch of the foot. Oh no. This is going to be different. If you have a yoga block at home, this is a chance to get that block out and put it between your heels and big toes, and then take your yoga strap or towel or belt or whatever you're using and put it around the arch of the foot so it pinches the inner heel into the block like that. So if you can't see, I'll move the camera down slightly. There you go. And you can feel the inner heel, big toe joint, maybe the big toe touch the block. So the strap is over. If you don't have a strap and like you have two people and you have one block and one strap at home right now, one person gets the block, one person gets the strap. Go get them on Amazon. They're super cheap right now. Good. So Dandasana. Even this will be hard for some people because this challenges the ankle, this challenges your shin, and you have to then try to put your inner heel into the block, your big toe joint into the block, and then put your big toe into the block. Hi, Helena. Very good. So as you work the pose, just with the legs long, take your fingertips back behind you once you get set up and lift the chest so you extend the spine up as high as you can get. And so Dandasana, pretty simple thing. So we're going to work forward, twist, and then we'll work backwards after this. So, we really don't need many poses to start to affect the spine or work the body. What we need to do is put all of ourselves into the poses to work the body. So a few seconds here. Let everyone get caught up, catch up what they're working on. A few nice deep breaths. Take a moment, experiment. Can you push your inner heel, the big toe joint, and then stretch the big toe to touch the block? Do that. That'll make your legs shake and work more than a lot of other stuff. Then work through the thighs to lift the backside of your pelvis up, not to push your spine out, but to feel like there's a flexion and lift on the pelvis of the body, and stretch both arms straight up. So you get that extension of the spine, and you get to check in with your own body. And then hold, and then breathe into it, and then check in as it gets tired or hard. What's the first thing to go in your feet? Can you re-engage it? What's the first thing to come up for you mentally, emotionally? Can you re-engage it? Can you engage with it, right? I don't like the thought of people just getting through the class. If you're just getting through it, it's like taking a test in school that you don't want to learn anything from. Take a nice breath, bring your arms down. Take your hands next to your hips, lift your spine up, lean forward 5-6 inches. You don't have to go super far, but flex through the legs like you're trying to press your butt down, but lift the backside of your pelvis up. Cramp. Then exhale, keep the chest out, stretch your arms straight out in line with the shoulders, but don't sit the chest up. Just lengthen the heart chest bone out. And the slight forward fold, so you're a greater than symbol. And work your legs. Can you lift the back side of your pelvis up like you're rolling your pelvis towards your thigh? Exhale, up you go. Set your body up. Try to keep your arms up. Just follow along. Don't fall out of it. Take your left hand down to the outside of your right thigh. Don't lean forward to reach for the thigh. Just take your arm out as far as the arm can stretch without your chest falling. Keep stretching your right arm up tall. Bend your left elbow to twist to the right. Turn your ribs towards your right armpit. Turn your right armpit to the world behind you. Check your feet on the block. Squeeze your heels, your big toe joints, and your big toes into the block. And then, if you're by a wall, you can use the wall to help kind of lift your spine and extend, putting your hand on the wall. If you're not near a wall, stretch your arm straight out the height of your shoulder like you're doing Warrior Two, and reach that arm out. Use that arm to kind of drag the chest bone open. As your left elbow bends, it's lifted and bent, to drag your left ribs towards the block. Right arm drags the right ribs away from the block. So both work equally, just as each leg works equally right now. Couple breaths. All right, both arms up. Switch sides, right hand to the outer left thigh. Take a breath. Bend the right elbow, keeping the right elbow up. Don't let the right elbow come down towards the body. Pull. Get some, when you pull up on the leg a little bit, grab the flesh, grab the fabric, grab the back of the leg, and bend that elbow to rotate. Pick your ribs up when you do that. Front ribs up, Tris, especially on the right side. And then twist to your left, stretching that left arm out, using the left arm to stretch the left ribs out, bending that right elbow to stretch the right ribs, and then just rotate with it. You may not go far. You may just kind of feel like you get a little bit of twist, and most of your work is to keep your spine upright. That's okay. You're doing the best you can to create some flexion, rotation, and extension in a posture that for most of us is what I would call comfy couch propped, which is sunk. This one is hard because this one does not allow for a lot of pelvis twisting. You have to work very much in the upper back. Very nice. Deep breath. All right, untwist. Good. Take your block off. All right. So now we get to do the backward part. The backward bending part for a lot of these seated postures. You can do supine on the floor, or you can do over bolsters or blankets. So I'm going to have Tristan come off her bolster if you ever grab a blanket. We'll start small. You can then experiment at home later with how big you want this to get. So you're going to take a blanket or a towel or anything, something you can get some level of thickness to, and you're just going to roll it up. You can use a bolster if you're a badass. I mean, Tristan's a badass, but I don't want her to throw a block at me when I make her do these. So you're just going to take a roll, and it doesn't have to be a big roll. This is just one blanket rolled up, and that's about 6 inches of thickness. Laying over this with your low back will already start to challenge a lot of the muscle of your back and pelvis, especially if you engage your legs to the same degree as you have all the rest of the time. So you're going to sit with your hips up against your rolled up whatever, or your block, or whatever you're going to lay over, and lay back over it. Use a pillow. Roll a pillow up tight. They're really good for this. Like the pillows you sleep on, if you can roll those up tight, if you don't have the big, super thick bamboo ones, these are very nice. They're very nice for making bolsters. You just lay on your back with the backward bend like this. So it arches the back in a more natural shape, because the low back should be arched. And it might just feel good after everything. It'll probably just feel good after everything we've done so far. You need to speak. You just want to make sure that you have some room for your legs, because you remember the first thing we did was Uttanasana Konasana. So for a moment, everybody sit upright once you got your blankets in place and stretch both legs wide into Uttanasana. Same action, point the foot, flex through the heel, everything you just did. Now, once you've got your legs engaged, do the best you can. Instead of rotating your pelvis forward, you have to press down through the thigh, take your hands behind you, and lay backwards over the blanket. So the blanket right in your low back. Go on there. Try to take your hands behind you, work your legs the whole time. To point the foot, push through the heel, and lay back. It is way more challenging than it should be. Yeah. So when you do that, go ahead, lay back. I'll talk you through it. So you're in this nice backward bend over that blanket, but you're working the legs deep into the post, though, pressing the thigh down, pushing through the foot. You might get a hip cramp. If you get a hip cramp, I'm super happy for you. This is very easy to get cramps in the hip extenders on this one. All right. So
question, just one question, Dustin. Is that blanket on the sacrum?
No, lower back.
Actually on the lumbar. Okay.
Yep. Yeah, the natural curve of the low back. That's why I want people to start small, and then they can build up on as practice.
Cool.
All right, work through the legs, point the foot, push through the heel, press the thigh bone down. And even think about if there was something on each side of your foot to push out against, could you push your outer heel out against it? So it's like your outer heel is trying to get away, each heel is moving away from the other. That one will probably cause the foot to hip cramp the deepest. Even if you just practice this, it will open your hips quite a bit. Huh, Caitlin? Yeah, I can see. Good job. So you're still there, pushing through the heels, pulling the heels apart. So that's the backward bend. This is a backward action of the legs, and you feel how it changes from an upper back hamstring thing to a lot of your outer hip. Remember the 4 directions you can move the human spine in any pose: forward, backward, lateral / twisting, and inversion. We're in backward now. And it's a very different pose. And you still, and it's challenging sometimes to even engage the legs here because we're so used to just being very passive in a supine position. All right, take a breath. Roll to your side, sit on up. Don't get rid of your blanket or whatever you're using, because we're going to go back down in a moment. Now, sit with your hips right up against your blanket or whatever. Bring the soles of the feet together and the knees wide, Baddha Konasana. Pull those heels close. Push the big toes together, the second toes together, all that. I'll give you a second to get there. All right. So you should at least be seated with your feet together and your knees wide. Push your big toes together, your second toe, your third, fourth pinky. And if you can only do the first three and you've got to think about the fourth, that's your work. That's fine. Push your heels together. Don't push your knees down, but just do the best you can. Those of you that feel like you fall backwards in this is your time. Take your hands back behind you. Lift the spine up tall. Lift the heart. Bend the elbows to begin to lay down in the backward bend while pushing the feet together. Try not to lose the legs at any point in this descent. So what gets worked in this is really the hip muscles into your low back. Keep the blanket at the arch of the low back. Push the feet together. Push your big toes together harder than the others. And for those of us that are very tight in the hip and groin, this can actually let your knees drop and make it easier in the long run to feel what it is to open the hip up. But let never be said that there's not an opposite in the yoga pose. So remember, as the feet push together, another body part has to work away from that point to create the work. So as you push the feet together, flex your thighs, right? The quads are very flexed in this pose. Flex that thigh muscle and think about the knees pulling wide. So there you go. So your knees pull out as your feet push in. It'll make your calf and hamstring flex a lot. It makes your pelvis broaden. This is the actual engagement that we should be doing when we sit upright. It is also incredibly hard to do because of the back mobility it takes. So if you don't know what I'm talking about with the thighs, don't worry about pushing your feet together as hard for a moment. Think about what if your thighs were to keep the knees as bent as they are, but your thighs were going to go left and right away from you, like they were going to pull out of your hip. And then push your feet together, in that moment. It's way in the hip socket. Very good. Take a few breaths here. You're having a cramp, I'm happy for you, right? You signed up for something different. We're here to get it. Don't worry about knees down. Rachel, pull your heels closer to your body. Pratima, same thing. Christine's cat, nice to see you. I always love it when the pets show up for the yoga class, right? Mine do in lots of different ways. Ein even owned with us earlier in his own grumpy way. All right, take a nice breath, exhale, roll to your right, sit on up. All right, you're going to probably need your strap for this next one. And the reason I wanted you to start small on this backward bend is because when you do Dandasana into the backward bend, it is very challenging. There's a lot of hip and back stuff that gets into play on this. So Tristan's going to start in Dandasana. Just watch her for a second because I'm going to show you how you get in like a safe way to work into this. She's going to get the legs engaged. We want her legs to be up in the air after she gets laid down. So she's going to lay into the blanket and go back. Lovely. And then here's the fun part. You got to keep your hips on the floor, but pick your thighs straight up in the air. The look on her face is one of much perplexion. Legs up, let's go. This is way harder to do, to keep your hips on the floor, your back bent, and it's all core muscle in a way that a lot of times it's not. Those of us that get back pain, this is a real good help for it. So in the interest of helping, get your legs up. You take the strap unlooped and take one into each hand and push your feet up against it like you do in Dandasana anyway. Like there was a ceiling or something for you to push against. And try to get your thighs straight up. Join her. She's suffering without you. She wants to suffer with you. It is a mental exercise. Try laying down and picking your legs up on your own first, and then you get your strap. Give it a go without the prop, and then add the prop. Point to the foot. Stretch through the heel. Thighs tight. Feels weird, doesn't it? Yeah, mechanically out. Yeah. It's fun. All right, I should see something in the air. Even if you have to have your knees bent and you pick your feet up off the floor and get your knees above your hips, some level of the action, right? Because it's not about being the perfect student, it's about being you as the student. Remember the blankets under your low back. Try not to climb your hands up the strap, but hold one part of the strap in each hand, Glenda, so you can keep your arms wide. There you go. Get out of your neck. That's it. Nice. Everyone's learning from Glenda. Point the foot. Now, do you think your heel is above your hip? I say no. Get those legs up there, Caitlin. Come on, Katie. Everybody flex your thighs. And for a second, get your legs as high as you can. And then don't take the strap off. Just stop using the strap to hold your legs up and do it on your own. You will probably get a cramp somewhere, maybe in a thigh or in a hip. This resets a lot of the femur bone into the hip socket. It really will work your hip flexors. It is very hard. I don't like doing it, but I make myself do it a lot. Take a breath. So you see this, the back bend of Dandasana a little bit. All right, legs down. Stretch your legs out. If the arch of your low back feels good with the blanket under it or the pillow or whatever you got, keep it. If it doesn't feel good, take it out, put it under your head and neck, take your glasses off and let your eyes close. You've earned a few minutes of rest, I think. So as you let your eyes close, just take a few minutes. If you need to bend your knees with your feet flat on the floor because that's more comfortable on your back, do so. So remember what I said, it's not about showing up as the perfect student or the right student. As a teacher, I can say that every student is the right student. That you come as you are. I've always loved and cherished your work. One of the things that I've come to understand is that if I can teach you to be your own inner teacher, to look at all the stuff that you've got going on, because I can never know it the way you can, and to still accept you and accept your work the way I do, that would be the greatest thing I could do as a teacher. So for a moment, connect to that part of yourself that has guided you through the hard times, that's helped you learn in the trials of life. That teacher that's really always in there, and recognize that it's always accepted you, regardless of what kind of student you felt you were of life or of school or of anything. That even when it may be difficult sometimes to accept your happiness, because you don't know if you should feel happy in a hard time like this, or your sadness because you think you have to be perfect in some way, or you don't have anything to be sad about, or whatever it is that comes up for you, connect to that teacher inside you that just accepts you for that, even though it may be hard for the rest of you to do so. I've known many wonderful people in my life that have been mentor or older figures that have always accepted me no matter what I've come to them with. If I've come to them as a scared person, a sad person, a happy one, an arrogant person, they've accepted me. They modeled what that is, and they did it through the yoga practice. So now that you've gotten in touch with yourself in that way, you've seen how hard it is, your work, everything that's come up for you, take a few nice deep breaths in, connect to that teacher, remind yourself that they're there so you can always get in touch with them. They might have advice for you, what you should do differently, how you should handle these things, like say go get your down dog instead of complaining about your neck. But recognize that it's something that you all have within you, this own teacher that can guide you in the long run, ultimately better than any other living person can. And know and rest and enjoy the fruits of your yogic practice. Take a nice deep breath in. Stretch the arms overhead, lengthening through one side or the other. Letting the breath in energize you, invigorate you. Breath out, leave you cool and relaxed. When you're ready, bend your knees, roll your body to the right, slowly up you come. All right. So if you have questions, go have a couple minutes here. Unmute yourself. If I have to pick someone because too many are talking at once, we'll get through everything. If you have a question, now's the time to ask.
I had a question. Okay, go ahead, Karen.
Oh, no, it was just an observation that roll behind my lumbar really clarified a lot of things in my pelvis and the hips.
You're very welcome. I found it very beneficial to do that because so often when I lay on my back, I feel the pressure of my back on the floor, and it's very distracting, right? This small prop really let me feel the balance of my pelvis to left and right, especially how tight one of my sides of my back are. So it's good for that. I'm glad that was good for you too. Thank you. All right, Pratima, do it, girl.
Yeah, I had a question. During Dandasana this past Thursday, you were saying, the knee has to face towards the ceiling. But when you do that, the toes have a tendency, what you were describing is going out.
Mm-hmm.
How do you do both, like the knees, because how do you keep both the kneecaps towards the ceiling and prevent the toes from turning out because the foot has a tendency to roll out?
Okay, so one of the things that it's more important to get the knee pointed up first so your thigh is balanced, your hips are balanced. The foot turning out is more of a manipulation of the ankle and the arch of the foot. So you saw how earlier I had Tristan's feet strapped into the block. Doing that while working your knees, keep your feet honest, will teach your arches to reset more. When I first met Tristan, it's one of the things I had her do a lot because she came in with an ankle that wasn't functioning quite right. And so that was a big piece to reset her thighs, knees, and then her ankles too. So it's always better to, when I could tell you the muscles you have to flex, but it's not going to be as beneficial as you just have to prop yourself up, like even just put your feet against a wall and rotate your thighs without your feet turning. And you'll start to feel the muscle, and that's more important than me saying you have to flex this and move that, because you got to feel it before you'll get it, and then we can work on it. I can help you out with it some more. Does that make sense? Okay, good. I'm glad to work. Let me know how that goes for you. Don't keep me in the dark. I want to hear how things are progressing, even if it's a hard progressing. Right? Even if it's you got to come in and confess I didn't do it. Let me grump at you for it. You deserve that too. That's care and love. All right. Anyone else?
Dustin.
Hi, Alex. What's up?
So when I was trying to push my big toes and each of my toes individually together, after a while they would start to go numb.
Okay, so probably what's happening is, was there any other part of the foot that was numb or just the toes?
Just the toes.
Right. So you're probably curling the toes a little bit, or the ankle is pressing down really hard into the floor, the side of the foot, because there's a vascular line there that goes into the toes. I would actually practice with a blanket under your heels. Here, I'll show you on Tristan. Scoot back, grab that blanket. So, can you see? Scoot back a couple inches. Can you see Tristan's feet clearly?
Yeah.
No, keep closer. Okay. So you just take a blanket, small roll like a towel. The toes will stay towards the floor, but you put it under the heels so that they're at a slant. So that slanting action will not let you put the vascular part of the foot down into the hard floor and won't cut off circulation. And then this way you can experiment with it and see what you can figure out. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
This will also cause a footprint.
Fair enough.
Very good at that. All right. Anyone else? None? Man.
What for forehead and neck, what exercises or poses recommended?
All right. Did you say forehead?
Forehead, yeah.
Oh,
no,
okay.
forehead. So yeah, the neck.
Yeah. All right. So the easiest thing to do that I cannot recommend enough, because I did it for years to change my own posture, is to honestly, hand me that block there, Tris. Sit that way in Dandasana. Is to sit with your back to a wall with a yoga block just like this and do that. just do this until you hate it, and then do it for another hour, and then do that every day. And in a week or so, you will change your posture a lot. You keep your back connected to the block. Of course, the wall is right here. You try to touch your thumbs to the wall. It's hard, but it challenges all the right muscles to lift your head, neck up, and change your forward posture to a more upright posture.
So only pushing the block and then trying to get the thumbs into the wall, nothing else?
Yeah, just because your hips aren't going to be against the wall. You're going to be block width from the wall. You want your hips in line with your shoulders, and then your arms straight up. Oh, push your back into the block. That's it.
And for where the block's position, is that right between the shoulder blades pretty much?
Yep. Right between the shoulder blades. You don't want it down the middle of the back or up on the neck. Right in the meaty upper part of the back that makes us slouch.
Okay, cool.
When this gets tight, it pulls us down. When it opens up, it can lift us easier. That's where I get my posture from, is doing that pose constantly. I used to only allow myself to watch TV or movies like that. I stopped watching a lot of TV and movies. But, an hour in, and you're just like aching, but the next day you stand better, you have less headaches. It makes a difference.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Anyone else?
I do have a question.
What's up?
I do need to practice this pose more with the
What is this pose?
This pose is Baddha Konasana, so the feet together. And I was sitting in a bolster, and this is when we were like slowly forward. So how do you prevent like dumping into the knee joint?
Put your hands on a table.
Okay.
So when you're going forward into Baddha, right? I'm in the pose now. If there was a table in front of me, I do this. And then I push my hands down and learn to lift so I don't drop my knee and groin down. I push my hands down and lift my core and spine up. And then I slide my hands out on my table further. You can use a chair, whatever.
Okay. Yeah, I'll try. Thank you so much.
Because for hypermobile people like us, when we go forward, it's easy for us just to lean our groin into our knees and our knees hurt when it's really a lift up that is hard.
Okay. Thank y'all both so much.
You're very welcome. All right. Anyone else? Okay. Thank you all so much. Namaste.
Dustin,
All
here.
right.
Thank you,
Thank
Dustin.
you. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Helena, I'm going to give you a call now. Talk to you all soon.
Good night, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.